So you're probably wondering how the whole process of discovering the creation behind the Hawaiian hotspot began. It all started in the 1950s when the U.S. Navy set out to map the ocean floor with sonar, a technique that uses sound propagation to navigate, communicate, and detect objects on or under the surface of the water. The U.S. Navy's discovery revealed that there were a series of 80 sunken volcanic mountains beneath the ocean called seamounts, with many of them containing reefs on top of them. Along with the seamounts, 19 islands were being formed as well. This was known as the Hawaiian Emperor Seamount Chain. The seamounts that were discovered extended miles beyond the 8 Hawaiian island chains that were only shown on the surface. The Hawaiian Emperor Seamount Chain was one of the largest in the world, but not to the public eye, as very little of it reached above sea level. In the year 1963, a Canadian geologist by the name J. Tussaud Wilson was enticed and puzzled that a 3,000-mile straight line had been formed from the Hawaiian Islands and seamounts running through the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Wilson was intrigued because straight lines in nature are very rare and are not likely the result of an accident. Wilson had strongly believed that the reason for this occurrence was one for single-handedly creating this extensive chain of volcanic islands and seamounts. But there was still more Wilson wanted to prove from his studies. Wilson observed the islands and saw that the landscape on the islands were like a big desert, a barren wilderness with only a couple of seedlings poking through the lava. Wilson had noticed a pattern in the islands and boldly stated that the further the islands of Hawaii were from the Big Island, the greener they got. Wilson had made this statement from observing the movement of each island in the chain and noticing that the further you move north along the chain, the more increasingly green the landscape of the island becomes. Wilson believed that the older the island was, the greener the island got, because each successive island, more time had passed since the last eruption, allowing more room for vegetation to grow. 2 years later, after Wilson's theories were out in the open, more scientists were interested in studying the Hawaiian island chains and Wilson's discoveries, and took another approach by using radiotechnic techniques to date rock samples from each of the Hawaiian islands. It turns out that Wilson's observations and statements were indeed correct, and the results from the rock samples confirmed that Wilson's hunch proved the islands increased in age. Another scientist came along, Dr. Mike Pollan, and collected some rock samples and brought them back to the Big Island. It was found that in the middle of the Hawaiian island chain, you can get a rock from Oahu that can age back to 3.5 million years, and that in the farthest island, Kauai, rock from lava flow can age back to as far as 5 million years. Wilson developed a theory from taking evidence he had found from island rock dating and the straight line forged by the islands. Wilson's theory was that the islands of Hawaii were created by a force known as a hotspot, which is an exceptionally hot region below the Earth's crust that is located beneath Hawaii's Big Island and is a constant and stationary source of heat beneath the Earth's surface. He explained that when the Pacific plate slowly shifted over this hotspot, the immense heat and pressure shot through the Earth's crust, which later provided us with a chain of Hawaiian islands. Wilson compared it to a blowtorch in a sense where, if it was pointed up at the Earth's surface, and as the Earth's surface moves over the blowtorch, it would punch through, creating a chain of islands and undersea mountains, which is what you see in Hawaii today. Wilson's theory confirmed one of the most radical theories of the 21st century: plate tectonics.